It's weird to say that the movie I just watched had a Spider-Man that's younger than me. Back in 2002, when I was like 3, Peter Parker graduated high school. Then again, in 2014, with me about done with my freshman year in high school, he again graduates high school for the umpteenth time. And now here we are. Last month, I just graduated the hellhole that is high school, and he's back in the 10th grade. And I'm just sitting here like, what? So I finally got to see Spider-Man pre-prom days today, although this will probably be up the next day judging by how exhausted I am right now. So really, I saw it yesterday. But what do you care, am I right? I'm a forgettable try-hard YouTuber. Also, I'd like to give a warning. For any fellow illiterates watching this video, this is a spoiler review. Meaning I will be revealing stuff like Superman crossing over in the second act in this movie, killing the Vulture, unmasking Spider-Man to the public, and taking Iron Man to the DCEU to fight off Darkseid this November. So if you don't want to know any of that, I'm gonna give you a 5-second head start. 5. In this third reboot, after his first-hand encounters with Patriots Day and the Tin Can Man from The Wizard of Oz, Peter Parker struggles to escape the evil clutches of Sony as he tries to prove to Tony that he too can be a superhero. He also tries to keep up with his teenage angst and academics, so that he can live his daily routine and you do you, I do me hogwash. But when the two worlds of being a teenager and Spider-Man collide, Peter blows off steam the only way hormone-fueled millennials know how to do nowadays. That's right. Picking fights with old people and losing. This film had the advantage of adding that missing element the last 5 Spider-Man movies lacked. And that's the element of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For so long, we've seen web-slinging practically all on his own without any of the other Marvel characters. I know we got to see that already in Civil War, but that wasn't his solo movie, you can't point that out. That's cheating. I think that's why I really like this film when compared to some of the other movies from the past. It's refreshing. Unlike the Mark Webb series, the filmmakers managed to retell the beginnings of Spidey without drawing so many parallels to the preceding franchise. Spider-Man Homecoming is something new both to the MCU and to the Spider-Man films. This is undoubtedly a superhero movie, but it's not really a superhero movie. You know what I mean? We're essentially watching the everyday life of the cinematic universe. Like what's shown on Daredevil or Jessica Jones on Netflix. But just on the big screen. Well, except with less blood, cursing, graphic imagery, nudity, and sex. But what I mean is that it's very low-key superhero stuff that goes down in this new Spidey flick. It focuses more on the Peter Parker element than it does on Spider-Man. And from a movie called Spider-Man, you'd think you'd want more Spider-Man. But the shift in focus geared more towards Peter actually works here. Much of that credit is due to the amazing job Tom Holland did. He absolutely nails the fear and genuine innocence of the guy. Like when he was tippy-toeing around the top of the Washington Monument, or when he cried for help like a lost baby stuck in his own pajamas under the rubble. Which, by the way, Tom Holland is the perfect Spider-Man. And that's definitely not because he liked one of my videos.
There's this YouTube video, and basically they there's a bit in Civil War where I catch a sort of plane tunnel, and they calculate the height of the tunnel, the weight of the tunnel. He figures out the weight of that and the height it drops, and the height of Spider-Man, just how strong he would have to be to actually stop that. And they do the same for how quick Black Panther is when he's running through that. It's really interesting.
That is certainly an unbiased opinion. And the fact that he's a teenager is really sold when he's with Ironic Man, Aunt May, or when he's interacting with his very own nerd herd. Robert Downey Jr. isn't in this film too much, but his presence is definitely more than a cameo, and the father figure role he plays here adds so many layers to both Spider-Man and Tony Stark. Seriously, RDJ's acting on screen is pretty much Oscar-worthy at this point. You could see it in his eyes whenever he's talking to Peter, it's like looking at a mirror. He's talking to his younger self and trying to make Spider-Man a better man than Iron Man was. I'm still getting a little used to seeing such a young Aunt May in live action. Because if anything, she has been portrayed more as this grandma-aged woman in the comics, TV shows, and films. But then again, she is supposed to be an aunt, and she's about the age of my aunt, so yeah. It makes more sense now that I think about it. I like how they hinted at Uncle Ben only once, with Peter pointing out that he can't tell her his Spider-Man secret to her with quote-unquote everything that's happened to her already. He didn't have to get shot on screen again, that guy can rest in peace. I just now realized that this is the first live-action Aunt May to know that Peter is Spider-Man. We aren't too sure if she did in the OG trilogy, but she did hint at it through her insert inspirational quote here moments. And Sally Field's version never found out. Anyways, back to Parker's squad. It was interesting to see that there was a variety of smarties amongst the group. I know there's some type of controversy going on with Flash Thompson not being the super jock anymore, but damn, I mean, I grew up with this one kid, he plays like football or something, and he cheated all the way through high school, which is basically Flash here. When the team was at the decathlon meet, they poked fun at him not answering a single question, which, I'm not gonna say their names, 1 or 2 leeches from my school would have probably done that. Honor roll my ass. But what they were going for, this more modern type of bullying, as opposed to your old 90s or 80s school jock bullies, worked for this setting, and I think Tony Revolori did pretty well for what the script was asking from him. His other friends, like Liz, played by Laura Harrier, and BFF Ned Leeds, portrayed by Jacob Batalon, were also nice additions to the whole thing. The way the screenwriters wrote the character of Liz, it was indeed the role of your stereotypical high school movie dream girl. but they made sure not to go too far and make her feel like she doesn't exist. Even though she's popular at school, she's the leader of the decathlon team. She sneaks out with her friends late at night to go swimming, and she has a pretty messed up father who used to dress up like Batman and isn't all too right in the head. More on him later though. The comedic relief moments, most of it at least, came from Ned. He constantly annoys Peter about how it's like being Spider-Man, even to the point of almost revealing who Spider-Man is in front of tons of people. There's this one part where he's in the library or something while the homecoming dance is going on, and he has like 3 computers on. Now in my head, I was thinking ahead like, oh, there's only one way you could cover for Pete and make it believable. And sure enough, they did it. And it had me dying. Happy was also a great addition to this film. He bounced off Tom Holland really well. By my count, there are 5 villains in this movie. The Vulture, 2 Shockers, 1 gets turned into buttered toast though, Scorpion, and the Tinkerer. And if you want to count the potential villains ahead of time, Donald Glover plays the Prowler and Ned is supposedly supposed to turn into the Hobgoblin, so really it's 7. So there goes your argument that too many villains equals a bad movie. This movie smacked that sentence out of existence. Oh, and apparently Aaron Davis is the uncle of Miles Morales. He claimed that he had a nephew around New York, so there we go, Miles is confirmed. The main villain is first and foremost the Vulture, and Michael Keaton is phenomenal when it comes to intimidating people. He always keeps a dark and menacing tone of voice whenever he talks to Peter. And I swear to you, when he first opened that door, I thought, oh damn, he found out his identity. He better clap him in the next Tuesday. But after 5 seconds of him having a normal convo with Peter, I took a step back and realized, oh wait, no, he's her papa. This also contributes to the whole Vulture motivation, why he robs people and does what he does. It illustrates how any normal guy can turn into a villain. Because yeah, why do they, the heroes, get to live luxuriously and chow down on shawarma, while the victims of the calamities get wrecked and eat dirt? He's probably one of the most layered Marvel villains we've seen in a while. I'm glad that they didn't kill him off just yet so that Keaton could maybe return in future installments, or maybe even be in a future Sinister Six team-up. The minor villains I barely touched on earlier don't really do much. The Tinkerer is the Igor type of partner to the Vulture, and McGargan and Shocker get tossed to the side pretty quickly, so I don't have much to say for them there. I am a little curious as to how they will go about with Gargan's powers. I kinda dug what they did in one of those Spider-Man video games. I think it was the first Amazing one, where they used cross-species genetics with a human and a scorpion. That's probably not gonna happen. It's probably gonna be some kinky anime bit with a mechanical tentacle as a scorpion tail. Going more towards the plot twists again, by the end of the film, it's revealed to us that Zendaya's character Michelle is in fact MJ, though clearly not Mary Jane. The actress made it 100% clear that her name isn't Mary Jane, but Michelle with a nickname of MJ. I'm not sure why they had to do that. I mean, it might be because Mary Jane is just another word for the devil's lettuce today. I'm a little on the fence about the whole thing with the direction they went with her, because she's more of this rebellious, doesn't really care about anything type of person that's very different from what we've seen before. But then again, this is a completely new take on MJ, so yeah, her name's not even Mary Jane, dude. I'm looking forward to how things will turn out in the future. There's also one more thing that totally caught me off guard, and I guess I'm the only one that actually cared about it this much. And that was when Pepper Potts popped out of nowhere. There were rumors that she'd be returning in this movie, but I didn't really buy into it cause she said she'd tired of the superhero shtick and she dipped. And I thought that was it. I thought Iron Man 3 was her last Marvel movie. So when she finally walked through the press conference door, I was just like, oh my god, Pepper. I guess Tony and her are married now too? He grabbed the ring to propose to her. I mean, she could have been a savage and said no in front of the thousands of people at the press. Shortly before that, we actually get our first look at the MCU's version of the Iron Spider suit, I think. It didn't really look like it to me. To be honest, it looked more like the Ben Reilly costume. Not the one with the cool hoodie, but this one. It didn't have the iconic gold plating or tentacle tongue thing going on in the back, probably because all that gold wouldn't be too easy on the eyes. In other words, it would look whack in live action. It looked like it had more silver than gold, but then again, my auditorium didn't get a really good projector, so yeah. Part of me wanted him to take it, but the majority of me said nah. He barely had his classic suit on for 2 hours. I didn't want to see him trade it in already. The action scenes aren't so huge or high-scaled like Doctor Strange or the Avengers where 3 cities are involved. They're low-key set pieces. Granted, there are explosions, but I mean, you never feel like a whole country is gonna fall out of the sky, like in the Oscar-worthy films Age of Ultron or Chicken Little, and kill millions. It's just Spider-Man trying to stop street-level thugs and the Vulture. The visual effects were pretty much flawless this time around, but I did have some trouble seeing what was going on during the airplane fight. I'm pretty sure it was just at my screening. Seriously, the projector they were using for my auditorium was glitching the hell out. The screen was bleeding onto the walls and the brightness kept flickering. Next thing I knew, Spider-Man's on a webbed up plane turbine and I didn't see what the hell happened. I'm gonna watch it 2 more times anyway, so oh well. The writers even poked fun at the scenario where what if Spider-Man had no huge buildings to swing on by? There's just a wide shot of him running through a park and I smirked a bit because that's totally what would happen. I only have a few minor complaints. The first is the advertising. By that, I don't mean Homecoming is not a neat subtitle. I'm just saying it's not original, because let's face it, your girl Wendy Wu came up with it first. No, it's that the trailers gave away quite a bit, so much so that you could piece together what happens next. Not the whole thing though, as there were some really exciting twists and turns these characters take, but still, that's something to point out. Additionally, The Spidey suit felt more like a bootleg Iron Man suit than a Spider-Man one at times. I get that since he's working with Stark he gets upgrades, but they might have gone too far into that area. They also have an MCU reference every 10 minutes. It's cool how it's embedded in their academics, like how the government teacher was lecturing Peter's class about the Sokovia Accords, or when Vibranium was one of the answers to the decathlon questions. But I felt like they could have chilled a bit with some of them, like the Smash or Pass one. That one felt too on the nose. Though, my favorite reference or cameo here was Captain America in his little PSA tapes. I mean, the one and only Stan Lee was fun to see again, but that gym scene was hilarious. He presents the gym teacher to the class in his Party City Avengers costume, and the damn dude is standing on the other side of the screen from where Cap is pointing. That's it. High school in a nutshell. No one gives a damn. You could hear in the man's voice, he was all like,
"Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now, but I'm paid to show you this, so..."
His ending credits scene, the one after the mid-credits one, where he talks about the importance of patience, was like a jab at the audience and it had my theater laughing. The one before it could have been tagged on somewhere near the end of the actual film, but nevertheless, it was nice to see. With all these movies tied together in a cinematic universe, there's bound to be some plot holes and inconsistencies. The first Avengers came out in 2012. But Homecoming takes place in 2016, shortly after the events of Civil War. Near the beginning of the movie clarifies that there's an 8-year gap between Civil War, or Homecoming, and the first Avengers. Meaning either all of this took place in the same year, 2008, or this is a plot hole. And Spider-Man's reaction to Ant-Man differed from the last film. Last year, he was utterly surprised.
Holy shit!
But here, he didn't really care all too much.
He's big now, I gotta go.
That's just nitpicking, so I didn't really care too much for it. Even with that being said, it was a damn good movie. All in all, Spider-Man Homecoming is a really fun summer movie with excellent comedic timing. The cast all around is great, the visual effects are flawless, and the action scenes, though they aren't huge, are intense. I'd say I'd be willing to pay 3 times to see it again in theaters. Take my money. A new rating system for the new Spider-Man. Here it is if you actually care about those sort of things. Anyways guys, those are my thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming. What did you think about it? Let me know how you felt about it in the comment section. If you like this video, then be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, consider following me on my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. And for more of my videos, just click right here.